Guys, I'm going to do it. Oh, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do something that has never been done. I'm going to do something in the 25 years since it has happened has only been thought of as a conspiracy and has only been imitated, never duplicated. I am not a cop. Far from one. I will never be going to school to be a cop. I will never be in camp to be a cop. But you best believe when I say this, that I will solve Biggie and Tupac's murder. You guys remember what happened to that little Asian female that died at the Cecil Hotel and the cops couldn't really get a hold on what happened? Well, there was a lot of internet sleuthers with this Gabby Petito case. There's a lot of internet sleuthers. There's a lot of people that like to solve cases on their own because they see things that the cops don't. You look at Benoit Blanc in Knives Out. He's not a cop at all, but he became famous because of sleuthing. And for those that don't know what sleuthing is, it's basically like being a cop and you solve the case on your own. That is the road I am going down. That is what I'm going to do in solving these two cases. Simply given the evidence that was seen in all the documentaries, that was read in all the books, all the facts that were pertained and given out to us is what I will use to solve this case. And to be honest, this case makes no damn sense, but it compels me. And I do not know where to start. But there's going to be a lot of talking points I'm going to be talking about just to catch up a lot of the casuals and the people that don't really know about this case. So this isn't going to be one video where I'm going to go over every single thing. No, I'm going to go make a series of videos so you guys can truly see what goes on in my head and what went on back in the 90s, what went on back in this case. So you guys will get a good glimpse onto what is going on. So the key points that I'm going to go over in this series of videos, you could call this a series. Biggie's and Tupac's murder isn't obvious. The night of what happened, both on March 7th, 1997 and September 7th, 1996. I'm going to talk about Biggie and Tupac's upbringing, what made them stars, what made them have career-changing moments, things of that nature, how many albums they sold, all kinds of TV shows and movies they were in. I'm going to talk about how the Crips and Bloods got started. I know that video might cause a lot of controversy. I'm not going to dig too deep into it, but it's part of the storyline and it's something that needs to be talked about. I'm going to talk about the corruption in the LAPDs in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. I mean, the amount of corruption that's in the LAPD is utter blasphemy, and you guys will see as you keep watching. Then I'm going to talk about the East Coast-West Coast rivalry. There's a lot of key points that weren't presented in the case, and a lot of key points that a lot of people don't know, and it is my job to present them to you guys. I'm going to talk about the rise of Bad Boy Records and the rise of Death Row Records. We all know back in the mid-90s, those were the two records. If you were an artist, you wanted to get signed to one of those two because if you did, you know you made it. And not only that, both of those records play a big factor in both of these cases. Then I'm going to be discussing the evolution of hip-hop that led into the rise of Tupac and Biggie, led into the rise of NWA, most of all, how DJing started. I bet you guys don't even know about that. Then I'm going to talk about David Mack, possible suspect in Biggie's shooting. Kevin Gaines, possible suspect in Biggie's shooting. And Ray Perez, a possible suspect in Biggie's shooting. I'm going to talk about the famous or infamous cop, Russell Poole, who is a hero of mine, an idol of mine, a man that searched for nothing but the truth and had a big part in solving Tupac and Biggie's murder, or trying to solve Tupac and Biggie's murder, because I'm going to be the one that solves it. But this guy gave me a lot of what I'm pursuing, and he gave me a lot of facts that I'm going to go by. So I'm going to talk about the controversy he went through in the LAPD and what he went through just in his tenure as a cop. Then I'm going to talk about Suge Knight's power in another video. And the amount of power that man has, it's going to truly blow your guys' minds, because it blew mine that this guy got away with a lot of stuff, and possibly even these two murders. Then I'm going to talk about the Greg Kading documentary and his takes on what he did for this case. Because let's not forget, after Biggie died in 97, back in 2006, he was recruited on a reopening of the case. It was a task force. He was on a task force with his friend Darren Dupree, and they went through a lot of series of events in trying to solve this case. And I'm going to really talk about that as well. I'm going to talk about Keefe D, who's a possible suspect in Tupac's murder. Keefe D, famous Compton Crip, locked up in jail now, but truly a guy that had a big play in both cases as well. There's a lot of people that have big parts in each case, and that's why I need separate videos to talk about their backstories and what they had to do with each case. I'm going to talk about the Unsolved documentary that's on Netflix and the City of Lies films, their differences and their similarities. Both amazing, both great, both filmed extremely well. And again, that's more evidence that I will be going by. Then I'm going to talk about the LAPD's controversy surrounding Biggie's death, how Valletta Wallace wanted the lawsuit to be in full motion back in the early 2000s, and other controversy surrounding Biggie's death. I'm going to talk about Amir Muhammad, who is a member of the Fruit of Islam, and how he was the proclaimed shooter. That video, I want to say it's going to be a dark video, but it's going to be a very confusing video. Then I'm going to talk about Orlando Anderson, who is a possible suspect for the Tupac case. He may have been the guy that killed Tupac, and after I make that video, maybe your guys' opinion will be the same as mine. We'll talk about the conspiracies. Even those stupid conspiracies that people say, oh, Tupac's still in Cuba, he's still making music. Yeah, well, on a different day, I'll discuss all the conspiracies that have went through every cop's files and went through everyone's minds and see which one fits the stories most. We also have to talk about Kevin Gaines and Frank Liga, how Kevin Gaines' murder and Frank Liga's lawsuit and civil court trial case has a big factor on Biggie's murder. I'm going to talk about the cop involvement in both record labels, because remember, both of these guys hired security. You know, their security was with cops. All right. Bad Boy had cops. Death Row had cops. I'm going to go into that and how possibly these two murders were a professional hit, because there's no way that two guys do this and they just disappear forever. That's why I'm going to catch y'all's ass. I'm going to talk about Tupac's first shooting back in 1994 at Quad Studios in New York, and how that changed everything, how that changed the tide of both Tupac and Biggie's lives. I'm going to talk about Biggie's Who Shot Ya and Tupac's Hit 'Em Up. Believe it or not, those two songs had a lot to do with how the rest of this East Coast, West Coast rivalry played out and how the rest of their lives played out, similar to my last topic of Tupac's first shooting. I'm going to talk about Puffy's awkwardness. There's just something off about that guy. Not only is he not famous anymore, but I just feel he was, one, way too cool in all this stuff, and two, he has a lot of denying. He has a lot of deniement in his stories. So therefore, it goes by the old Diary of a Wimpy Kid movie, deny, 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 even if people know, deny, deny, deny. And that's what I feel that Sean Combs, a.k.a. Puffy Combs, is doing. And last but not least, second to last but not least, I'm going to be discussing the Labyrinth and Murder Rap books. I got the Murder Rap book right here. I'll be discussing those books, differences and similarities, what these guys talked about. One was written by Craig Kading, whom I'm going to discuss his controversies in another video, and one was written by Randall Sullivan, co-written by Russell Poole. Both of these guys have different takes on what happened, and both of their cases are different. One went this way, one went that way. However, they're both part of the storyline, and I have to talk about both of them, even though I agree with Russell Poole's side even more. Last but not least, I'm going to solve this thing. It's been 25 years since Biggie's been shot and 26 since Tupac has been shot, and both remain unsolved. Again, I am not a cop, right? Many of you might be like, oh, this guy's full of shit. But you guys are going to tune in to the juicy stuff that I have to talk about, because I'm going to be exposing some people. And by people, I mean Suge Knight and Bad Boy and Death Row Records, all right? I know Biggie and Tupac's parents, moms, mothers, they have just been through so much tumultuous and sad moments these past 25, 26 years. I know they are tired of hearing about this, but rest assure you, once and for all, I'm the one to do it. I know I'm the one to do it. I'm going to do this quick. I'm going to do this easy, and I'm going to do this in a way that has never been done before. And I just know I can cast the person that did it, even though they're not going to get an actual trial, even though they're not going to get arrested most likely for this murder. But I'm going to tell you guys simply who did it. So buckle up, Valletta Wallace and Afeni Shakur. Yep, you guys deserve justice. And it's a quote here in the book to Afeni Shakur and Valletta Wallace. When human justice fails, rest assured that God prevails. And I know God sent me to solve this murder. They're tired of hearing about this, and they deserve justice. And I'm going to be the one to give them a little bit of clarity and make sure that everything is copacetic. Thank you guys for watching. Please give me a like and subscribe. And like I mentioned, all these topics that I just discussed with you guys, I will be discussing more in depth in more videos. So consider this a series of videos on who shot Biggie Smalls and who shot Tupac Shakur. And if you want, follow on my TikTok as well. I'll be going over the Unsolved documentaries, the Labyrinth books, the City of Lies film, and the Murder Rap book. So follow my TikTok for more Tupac and Biggie stuff. I'll basically be discussing the same topics on my TikTok, just in shorter videos. But most of all, buckle up for this juicy stuff that I have to discuss. I promise you guys will be along for the ride. And most of all, comment on what you think is your take on this entire case. Let me know what topic you're looking forward to me talking about most. Let me know what your simple conspiracy about this is. Most of all, just be along for the ride. Stay safe. Keep it 100. I'm ready for this, and I'm going to solve it. Sleuthing Avenue, here I come.